Good evening and welcome to our COVID-19 update, a special edition on Channels Television on the coronavirus pandemic in Nigeria and across the world. I'm Millicent Walker. First, some of the highlights this hour. Today, COVID-19 cases in Nigeria, according to the NCDC, stands at 174 confirmed cases. Federal government economic team on COVID-19 strategizes on keeping the economy running as they brief the president. And pandemic takes a toll as the United States records over 800 deaths in 24 hours. Let's begin. The Presidential Committee to review the impact of COVID-19 on the economy has briefed the President at the State House on ways to mitigating the impact of the pandemic in the country. President Muhammadu Buhari received the brief today from the Finance Minister, the Minister of State for Petroleum Resources, the Central Bank of Nigeria Governor, and the General Manager, Nigeria National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC. The President further directed the Ministry of Finance and Budget and National Planning to pay salaries of federal workers and also ensure that critical infrastructure are protected. The President also asked the ministry to, as much as possible, use local inputs so that the country retains the value within its economy. Now, the Presidential Task Force is working round the clock to ensure that men and women on the front line have all the support to carry out their functions in the COVID-19 fight. The Minister of Health, during today's briefing, said that contact tracing is ongoing, but fears that there might be more cases in the days ahead.
As contact tracing and testing capacity are being ramped up, more and more cases will be found, and the number of new confirmed cases of COVID-19 is expected to rise initially. We also worry about persons, especially Nigerians, returning to the country through land borders, who run a higher risk of infection if they are with an infected person in a confined space for a long time, like transit in a crowded bus or car. Therefore, it is advisable that all travelers postpone non-essential travel, whether by air or by land, and whether national or international. In this regard, all Nigerians are advised to remain where they are resident and to stay safe and obey the rules and the laws that are provided, except if they are returning home from a previously arranged journey or from a business trip or a vacation. With the expanded national case definition and the addition of 2 laboratories to the NCDC network of molecular diagnostic laboratories, national testing capacity has increased. Moreover, the lockdown in high-burden states presents the advantage of reduced population mobility and leaves more people at home to be found during contact tracing. As I said, all this means that more people, more samples can be collected and can be tested more quickly, and the turnaround time is shorter, and it means that more cases will be discovered. With 71% of over presumed 6,000 more contacts now traced, the number confirmed may rise dramatically, but contact tracing will still be intensified to reduce the number of outstanding ones. We shall continue to expand isolation centers and prepare ICU units across the country for those who may have complications.
For the Director General of the Nigeria Center for Disease Control, the healthcare professionals are going beyond their duty schedule as they work 18 hours and more daily.
We've had the largest number of positive cases yesterday, But we had also the largest number of people tested ever yesterday. And we made sure we've prioritized getting back the results to all the positives. There has been some delay in calling all the negatives, but we're working on that, and by the end of today, we should be all through with the backlog. We currently have 15 rapid response teams supporting 15 states. It's the largest deployment of public health resources for an outbreak ever in our country. Unlike other outbreaks that are localized, even the Ebola outbreak was still Lagos and Port Harcourt. This time, every day we add a new state. Every single day we have to deploy a new team. It requires resources, people, logistics, efforts. This is a significant exercise, and we're assuring every state that we will continue to do everything necessary to support them to respond to these events that are unfolding in our country. Today really is about celebrating these colleagues on the front lines. They really are going over and beyond the call of duty. Many of them work for 18 hours every day. We get sit reps sent to us. Some of those sit reps arrive in my inbox at 1 a.m., 2 a.m. that morning because the next day they have to go out again. So from the federal government side, on behalf of the PTF, we are doing our best to support every state. Just yesterday, 5 new cases were announced in Akwa Ibom. This morning, a large team has already deployed to Akwa Ibom. As we speak, they must be halfway. It's not possible to fly very easily at the moment, especially if we need to do so rapidly. We need to collect supplies from the lab, to collect samples, we collect IPC materials, everything they need to respond. And by 10 a.m., they were already on their way to support Akwa Ibom State. So that's how the response is panning out. That's how we're supporting every state in Nigeria. Lagos has the biggest team, close to 50 people, a joint team from WHO, AFNet supporting them. The FCT has the second largest team, obviously because of the numbers of cases in these 2 states.
Earlier, the head of the team and secretary to the government of the Federation, Mr. Boss Mustafa, called for patience among Nigerians as the restriction order is for the good of all.
The COVID-19 is a potential danger to all of humanity and threatens our economy and national security. You will all understand, therefore, why we must at all times, take very difficult decisions in order not to disrupt the economy, and particularly the supply of power to our homes. Government yesterday, as I informed you, has already exempted essential staff of companies in the upstream oil and gas sector from the restrictions, and exempted further the movement of fertilizer and related items so that we can keep our agricultural economy working. This is all in order to facilitate availability of gas to fire the turbines that generate power for the supply in our homes, and also to ensure that our farmers have fertilizer and other necessary components as the farming season is about to begin. That underscores the intricate nature of decisions that we have taken and those that will be taken.
Now, still on the presidential task force, during the question and answer session, the Minister of Interior, Mr. Rauf Aregbesola, he said that, rather, he defended government's decision to shut down the borders, explaining that government believes the closure will go a long way in containing COVID-19.
Every human being must be from a nation. If that is the case, it's difficult for us to abdicate our responsibility to our nationals who return by land border. When they get to our land borders, what the accredited officials of state, immigration officials in this instance, what they do is to first of all determine that they are Nigerians. From their travel documents, from their physical appearance and from their claims. Once the issue of their citizenship is determined, governments are contacted, particularly at the border level, to find out if they could accommodate them in their isolation centers. So I am here advising all governments, all the subnational authorities at the land border area of Nigeria to rapidly develop capacity to accommodate and isolate this type of people in compliance with international treaty and law. We cannot deny our citizens entry to our nation.
Well, as the Nigeria Center for Disease Control and CDC continues its contact tracing efforts, confirmed cases of COVID-19 in Nigeria stands at 174. Here's a state-by-state breakdown of the cases showing that Lagos has 91 cases, the FCT Abuja 35, Osun 14, Oyo 8 cases, Akwa Ibom 5, 4 cases in Edo, Ogun and Kaduna State. Bauchi has 3 cases, while Ekiti and Enugu have 2 cases each, with Rivers and Benue states recording 1 case each. 9 persons have been discharged with 2 deaths recorded. Now, 637 German, Dutch and French nationals have been evacuated by 2 carriers from the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Lagos. Air France lifted 399 Dutch and French nationals, the second batch of evacuations after the first batch in March. Lufthansa also lifted 238 German nationals out of the airport in Lagos. Another round of evacuation is scheduled for next week, Thursday, with authorities explaining that the move is a precautionary measure against COVID-19 pandemic in Nigeria. On Sunday, March the 29th, Israel airlifted its nationals from both Abuja and Lagos international airports. Let's go now to our correspondent, Kayla Megwa. She's live for us in the nation's capital. Kayla, tell us, we've heard the daily briefing from the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 and the different ministries. The directive is still in place, day 3 of the restriction of movement for you there in the FCT, Lagos and Ogun, which will be coming fully on Friday. How are citizens reacting to these measures from government?
Hi, Millicent. Well, it's mixed. Many people are legit scared now. The conformity level has increased, especially in the city center. But we still have a lot of activity going on in the suburbs. So let's say a place like Wuse and Maitama, places that are around here, Asokoro, you go there, you see empty streets. But you go to a place like Kubwa, Lugbe, places that are out on the outskirts of the nation's capital, and you see a lot of activity. We were even at Apo, which is not so far from here, and it was business as usual. So a lot of people are trying to understand how this stay-at-home order is supposed to work, and probably having a hard time adjusting to it, especially the satellite towns in the nation's capital. But we do see a lot of conformity. People are legitimately scared and now worried because this lockdown has one purpose, Millicent. It's supposed to ensure that people who have this virus in the nation's capital start to show symptoms. And that way the treatment can start, and then we can actually start to see the numbers reduce and, contain it here in the nation's capital. So it's mixed. It's a mixed feeling, really. But a lot of conformity in the city center, but not a lot of conformity in the outskirts. However, I do have to state that markets are open for 4 hours, I think, from 10 a.m. till 2 p.m. So that could also, explain the reason why we have quite a number of people outside during the day. But after the markets were shut, we actually took time to go around and see what happened after the markets were shut. So we still had a lot of people walking around. And the markets that are open, I have to state that, are the ones in the satellite towns.
Quickly
so the markets in the city
because
center are still shut down.
We've heard about the palliatives. They've been promised. What can you tell us about the numbers, the section of people that are targeted, and what the response has been, briefly?
A lot of people who are supposed to be beneficiaries of these palliatives a lot of them are happy. People who have gone to collect 20,000 naira today, even yesterday as well. Lots of them are very happy about it. But we still have some people wondering what the modalities were. How did you pick these people? You know, where's the register? How come I'm not a part of the register? You know, so we still have a lot of those questions going on. But many people are actually glad about these palliatives because, you know, and it also coming in the heels of the fact that, you know, civil servants are to be paid their salaries. We heard Mr. President ordering that today as well. So a lot has been done to alleviate the sufferings of people during this period. And these palliatives are being welcomed by a lot of people, and still a lot of questions. And it will unfold as the days go by, Millicent.
We appreciate your time. Thank you. Kayla McGrath, they are correspondent in the Federal Capital Territory. Still to come on our COVID-19 updates, a look at social distancing in Nigeria. We hear from some of our correspondents, and also a look at why the numbers are increasing, talking about the death toll in the United States. Welcome back. In Edo State, the governor, Godwin Obaseki, has warned residents of the state not to flout the government's regulations regarding containing the COVID-19 pandemic. According to the secretary to the state governor, the ban of more than 12 persons has not been lifted, so anyone or group of persons seen disobeying the law will not be spared. It also insists there is need for social distancing for at least 1 meter and that all business remains closed except markets for food items. Pharmaceutical products and eateries are also allowed to function, while collection of state transport revenues have been suspended. The government is urging security agencies to ensure strict compliance. And motorists plying the expressway from Edo to Delta states, they've been subjected to the prescribed guideline tests set by the World Health Organization, WHO. Temperatures of motorists could be seen taken at the border between the two states, after which they were guided to wash their hands as a standard measure to contain the spread of COVID-19. While cases of the coronavirus are reported in Edo State, there has been no recorded case of the virus in Delta. While still in Delta State, an army officer has allegedly killed a young man for driving on the road instead of staying at home at Uwawangwe, Wari South local government area of Delta State. The incident has reportedly sparked a violent protest leading to random attacks of army officers and vehicles. According to an eyewitness, the victim was on his way to his ill father's home to take him to hospital before he was allegedly shot. In the meantime, the Minister of State for Labour, Mr. Festus Keyamo, condemned the killing. According to him, he says that I have received disturbing reports and images of images of high-handedness and shooting of innocents by men of the armed forces deployed to enforce the COVID-19 lockdown in Delta State. It is barbaric, and the army should restrain itself in dealing with the civilian populace. So let's dissect the coronavirus pandemic in the country. Joining us in the studio here in Lagos is a public health physician, Dr. Ndidi Igwe. Thank you for joining us again.
Thank you for having me.
All right. What's your assessment of the measures the federal government and the states, that they're putting in place to curb the spread of COVID-19?
Yeah, I think so far so good. The measures put in place to combat the COVID-19. The main thing we need is enforcement. If we could get our security agents and all the agencies involved to enforce it, because our people most times like to be forced to do things they should ordinarily do. So if we can get it enforced and our people appealed to take to those measures, I think we're doing good and we'll continue to improve by the day.
Do you expect that we'll see more cases in the country? And at what point do you think we'll be able to relax some of these restrictions? I mean, not a lot of people are complying with these social distancing rules.
When it comes to health, you can never say never. So we cannot tell you categorically that in a week's time, in a month's time, in 2 days' time, we should be able to come out of increasing cases. But just like I said before, if we can maintain these measures of keeping the distance, breaking the chains of the spread, I think in a very short while, we should be able to come out dry, because at least we're good enough that even most of the cases we have in the isolation are not really so down. They are getting better. So far, we have discharged 9 cases. And I think in a few days' time, we should be having more cases discharged.
All right.
They are doing well.
All right, hold on a moment. Let's talk to our correspondent, find out what's happening in the United States. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent Maria Bird joins us via Skype. Maria, thank you for joining us. You know, you've been staying at home, I believe, for the past several days. Tell us how that experience has been. We're also hearing about the number of deaths as a result of COVID-19. What is really happening? Why are the numbers increasing?
Well, there are over 80% of Americans that are on a stay-at-home restriction, which means unless you have essential work or you have to go to the grocery store, you must be in your house. And they are actually putting laws in place, and they're sentencing individuals who break that. And there's no gathering of more than 10 people. So even within your home, you cannot have more than 10 people at a time due to the real escalation. Yesterday, we had the highest number of deaths that we've seen since the pandemic began and spread to the U.S. We're looking at over 5,000 individuals that have died. We're looking at over 200,000 cases. And this is unprecedented for the U.S. And so many don't really know how to respond, but the government is trying their best, especially the local governments. The individual states are trying their best to put restrictions in place to really curb and to end the spread of COVID-19.
Maria Bird will continue to keep tabs with what's happening in the U.S. Thank you for that brief update. Back to you, Dr. Igwe, and this is coming from the Minister of Information talking about fake news. He says that it is distracting the fight on COVID-19. Do you agree? And what do you think we can do?
It is a very good fact. It is distracting because, you know, we have so many news agencies without certificate. That's what is killing us in this country. And that people tend to believe all those things in the social media. They have been told times without number. You have the toll-free lines of the NCDC. You have the websites where to go to. Because most of those fake news can be scary. And by the time fear will be the first COVID-19 to kill you if you continue going on that fake news. So my advice to everybody is go get the news right. That is the key.
All right. We'd like to appreciate your time. Dr. Ndidi Igwe, a public health physician, thank you for talking to us.
Thank you.
There you have it, a commercial bus conductor soliciting passengers at the popular garage in the Ikorodu area of the state. Despite the stay-at-home order, day 3, a handful of people are seen moving into their various destinations. We can't tell if they are on essential duty. Well, some others sitting at the bus stop area, the mini market at Ikorodu and the popular Mile 12 market were bustling with buying and selling activities beyond the 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. directive given by the Presidential Task Force. Just like we had earlier mentioned, from the United States, worrying figures concerning the death toll as more than 5,000 people said to have died already. 884, the number of deaths reported in 24 hours. This is the latest, including a 6-week-old baby in Connecticut. The country already has more than 216,000 people who have contracted the virus. That's the highest anywhere in the world.
Spain's death toll from the coronavirus has surpassed the 10,000 threshold after a record 950 people died overnight. The country's health ministry said the number of cases registered rose by about 8% from Wednesday to 110,238. The proportional daily increases have been slowing down in the past few days. In neighboring Italy, Russia's defense ministry released a new video of the Russian army sanitizing houses of elderly people in the Italian city of Brembe di Sopra. According to the ministry statement, Russian military specialists, together with their Italian colleagues, have already disinfected a total of 17 medical facilities in Italy. Meanwhile, Italian Prime Minister Giuseppe Conte has announced that a national lockdown in place since March 9 and due to expire would remain in place until at least April the 13th.
Would like to hear from you. Tweet at us at Channels Television. A daily update comes your way again at 9 p.m. Many thanks for watching. I'm Millicent Nwaka.